HOOK 0 o'clock to 0:08 in 1971. A face appeared on a kitchen floor in Spain. They removed the floor. The face came back. This has been happening for over 50 years. Intro 0:08 to 0:40. Imagine waking up one morning and finding a human face staring at you from your kitchen floor. Not painted, not drawn, just appearing on the concrete. You scrub it. It doesn't go away. You cover it with cement. It comes back. You dig up the entire floor. More faces appear. This isn't a horror movie. This actually happened in August 1971. In the small village of Bélmez de la Moraleda in southern Spain, faces began appearing on María Gómez Cámara's kitchen floor, and they've never stopped. For over 50 years, human faces have materialized, faded, and reappeared in this house. Scientists have studied it. Investigators have tested it. Skeptics have tried to debunk it. But the faces keep coming back. The first face, 0:40 to 1:45 August 23, 1971. María Gómez Cámara was preparing breakfast in her kitchen when she noticed something strange on the concrete floor. A face. It looked like a human face with eyes, a nose, and a mouth formed in the texture of the concrete, as if someone had drawn it. But no one had. Maria was terrified. She tried scrubbing it with bleach and soap. The face didn't fade. Her son, Miguel, took a pickaxe and destroyed that section of the floor. They poured fresh cement over it. A week later, the face reappeared, in the exact same spot. But this time, it wasn't alone. More faces began forming around it. Some appeared to be screaming. Others looked anguished. Some seemed peaceful. Word spread through the village. People began visiting the house to see the phenomenon. The local mayor got involved. So did scientists. On November 23, 1971, authorities decided to dig deeper literally. They excavated the kitchen floor to see if anything was buried underneath. What they found was shocking. The discovery to 1:45 to 2:40 beneath Maria's kitchen floor. They found human remains, skeletons, bones, evidence of burials. The house, it turned out, was built on top of an ancient cemetery. Records showed the site had been used for burials centuries ago, possibly during the Spanish Inquisition or even earlier. Some of the bones were headless. Others showed signs of violence. The remains were removed and given a proper burial. The floor was sealed with new concrete. Surely, people thought, that would end it. It didn't. The faces came back, and they kept changing. New faces would appear. Old ones would fade and be replaced by different expressions. Some faces seemed to move or shift over time, as if they were alive. Photographs were taken. The faces were documented, and they looked disturbingly real. Detailed features, expressions, shadows, not random stains or pareidolia. These looked like deliberate images of human faces. The investigation to 40 to 350 as the phenomenon continued. Scientists and paranormal investigators flocked to Belmez. The skeptics, many believed it was a hoax. The leading theory? Maria or her family were creating the faces themselves using chemicals, paint, or acid to manipulate the concrete. In 2004, a Spanish investigator claimed to have found evidence that the faces were painted with silver, nitrate, or other substances, but other scientists disputed this, saying the tests were inconclusive. Samples of the floor were taken to laboratories. Some tests found no evidence of external substances. The faces seemed to form naturally within the concrete itself. The believers, paranormal researchers, believed the faces were manifestations of the spirits buried beneath the house. The disturbed graves, they argued, caused restless souls to imprint their images on the floor. Psychics and mediums visited the house. Some claimed to feel overwhelming sadness and pain. Others reported hearing voices or seeing apparitions. The scientific debate. Chemists pointed out that concrete is porous and can absorb moisture, minerals, and organic material. Over time, this can create patterns that might resemble faces, a phenomenon called pareidolia, where the human brain interprets random patterns as familiar shapes. But pareidolia typically produces vague, ambiguous shapes. The Belmez faces were detailed. They had expressions. They changed over time. One theory suggested thoughtography, the ability to project mental images onto physical surfaces through psychic energy. Maria's grief and stress, some argued, could have unconsciously created the images, but this has never been scientifically proven. The faces continue, 350 to 440. Despite all the attention, investigations, and debates, the faces never stopped appearing. Throughout the 1970s, 80s, and 90s, new faces continued to emerge. Some were photographed and documented by researchers. Tourists and curiosity seekers visited the house, which became known as La Casa de las Caras, the House of Faces. María Gómez Cámara lived in the house until her death in 2004. She maintained until the end that she never created the faces. She saw them as a curse, a haunting she couldn't escape. After her death, the faces reportedly continued to appear. Her family sealed off parts of the house and eventually stopped allowing public access. But locals claim the phenomenon hasn't stopped. New faces still form, old ones fade and return. The house remains standing, though it's no longer open to the public. The current owners have tried to keep the story quiet, but the legend lives on. The theories for 40 to 530. So what's really happening in Belmez? Theory 1. Hoax. The most skeptical explanation. Maria or her family created the faces for attention, tourism, or financial gain. The house did attract visitors, and people paid to see the faces. But critics of this theory point out that Maria never seemed happy about the attention. She reportedly found the faces disturbing and wanted them gone, and the phenomenon continued after her death. Theory 2. Pareidolia and natural staining. The faces are just random patterns in the concrete caused by moisture, minerals, and mold. Our brains interpret these patterns as faces because we're wired to recognize faces in everything. But the faces are too detailed and change too consistently for this to fully explain it. Theory 3. Psychic imprinting, thoughtography. Maria's intense emotions, grief, stress, fear unconsciously imprinted images onto the floor through psychic energy. This would explain why the faces appear during emotionally charged periods. But there's no scientific proof that thoughtography exists. Theory 4. Paranormal. The spirits of those buried beneath the house are manifesting their images on the floor. The faces are attempts by the dead to communicate or express their suffering. This would explain the anguished expressions and why the faces appeared after the graves were disturbed. But paranormal explanations can't be scientifically tested or proven. The truth to 530 to 555 over 50 years later. The Belmez faces remain one of the most famous and controversial paranormal cases in history. Were they a hoax, natural phenomena, psychic manifestations, or genuine hauntings? We may never know for certain. The faces appeared, they were documented, they changed over time, and despite decades of investigation, no explanation has been universally accepted. María Gómez Cámara took the truth to her grave, and the faces, they're still there. Ending 555 to 615. What do you think is behind the Belmez faces? They hoax, natural staining, psychic energy, or something paranormal? Drop your theory in the comments. And if you want more unexplained mysteries like this, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. And if faces ever start appearing on your floor, maybe don't dig underneath.